Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online Regulation D VGC ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. In this video, I'm going to be using a hyper offense team featuring Physical, Life Orb, Normal, Tera, Regieleki with Explosion. This is one of the most fun sets that I've tried in Regulation D so far, and Regieleki is a Pokemon that was very popular in Sword and Shield, but has really fallen off completely in Scarlet and Violet VGC specifically, so I'm really excited to feature it. You can win games super quickly with this team, and honestly, if you're looking for a team to just climb the ladder with, especially before Master Ball tier, I would really recommend this one. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down below, and thank you so much as always for joining me. If you enjoy, would really appreciate it if you consider leaving a like in the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. Anyway, let's get started. Breaking things down, as always, rental, pace, and team creator are linked down in the description below, and question of the day, with us using Regieleki and Regidrago, I want to know if you could create a brand new Regi, how would you design it down in the comment section below? Now, I was drawn to this team immediately because of Regieleki. Like I mentioned, this is a very fast-paced hyper-offense team, and you can win games super quickly with it. But Regieleki is what really caught my eye. The rest of the team are all Pokemon that you would normally expect on a team like this, but this Pokemon specifically has really fallen off in Scarlet and Violet VGC. If you played Sword and Shield VGC, you'll know that Regieleki was super dominant, especially thanks to Dynamax, but it's been nerfed between generations, and it just doesn't fare super well in this format generally. What's really fun about this set is that it is a physical attacking set rather than a special attacking set, which most players generally anticipate from Regieleki. I know if I were to go up against Regieleki, I would expect moves like Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Electro Web, and Tera Blast. This Regieleki throws all of that out the window and says, I'm going to be a physical attacking set with Life Orb, Normal, Tera, Explosion. The idea is that Explosion can literally blow things up super quickly and get big one-hit knockouts. When you pair Regieleki with Flutter in particular, this combo is so strong because you're just using two of the fastest Pokemon in the format. You can threaten with Explosion immediately, and Flutter can just finish things off that Explosion doesn't finish off. For example, some Pokemon are bulky enough to survive the normal Tera combo, whether it be something like Iron Hands or Cresselia, but Flutter can often finish those Pokemon off. You also have Wild Charge, which is just a phenomenal attack into things like Flutter Water Urshifu, as well as Tornadus. Against most Flutter you actually will just be able to get a one-hit knockout unless they, for example, have Focus Sash or are super defensively invested. And that's really nice. Having a way to outspeed Flutter and just threaten with the one-hit knockout is huge in this format. You still have Electro Web for speed control, which is valuable, especially against opposing Tornadus teams. Tornadus teams are just really common in this format, but having your own Tornadus and Regieleki gives you a huge advantage against those teams. And since Regieleki is already so naturally fast, you can invest more in bulk, which is really nice, and having max attack is really crucial. I actually remember when I went up against Physical Dynamax Regieleki in Sword and Shield for the very first time, it completely destroyed me and caught me off guard, and this set does something similar. Now, this team aims to just move before your opponent and get big one-hit knockouts, and so Flutter also exists here. This Flutter set is interesting, though, because you've got Focus Sash, and you actually have Trick Room rather than Protect. The idea is that if you are up against opposing Trick Room teams and they set up Trick Room, it's really bad, and this team often will just lose if Trick Room does get set up and you don't have a proper response, and that's why you have Trick Room on this Flutter You can use it to reverse opposing Trick Rooms. You can also use it against opposing Tornadus teams. Like, I had one game where my opponent led with Tornadus plus Dragonite, and I had Regieleki Flutter and I literally just went Protect turn 1, set up Trick Room. They went for Normal, Tera, Extreme Speed into Regieleki Tailwind, and then turn 2 I just brought in Farigiraf, Wild Charged, and I just had full control of the game. So against other really fast teams, you can actually use Trick Room if they are trying to set up their own Tailwind, which I think is pretty cool. This Tornadus is a super bulky set. It's basically just max HP, max defense, so you survive physical attacks for stay on the field for longer than your opponents anticipate. And the main idea, of course, is to set up Tailwind, but you've got Rain Dance to help out the Water Urshifu on this team, Bleak Windstorm, obviously, and then Scary Face just for additional speed control on top. Citrus Berry, and the Citrus Berry allows Tornadus to hang on for longer, and what that means is you can often actually set up 2 Tailwinds with this Tornadus as well. To round out the team, you've got Water Urshifu. This Water Urshifu is a super bulky set. You'll notice that on this team, you actually don't have speed investment on a lot of Pokemon, which is interesting because it is a hyper offense team. But the idea is that you have so much good speed control thanks to Tailwind as well as Electro Web that you don't really need to utilize having max speed on these Pokemon. You can invest more in bulk, which is pretty crucial. So this Water Urshifu has near max HP, as you can see, and it had safety goggles as well. The idea is that under Tailwind, you are still basically outpacing everything. And with Rain Dance plus Water, Tera, and Surging Strikes, I mean, this is a combo that we've seen plenty of already in the format, but just continues to be really strong. And the main thing to note is the safety goggles, because Amoonguss can actually give this team a fair amount of trouble, especially if, for example, you don't bring Regidrago or Tornadus, even though it does have Bleak Windstorm, doesn't have that much special attack investment, as you can see. So having a way to just completely ignore Amoonguss, be immune to Spore, and ignore those Rage Powders is really crucial, because often people will use Amoonguss and Rage Powder to try to beat Urshifu, especially if they have like Rocky Helmet. With this combo, you can just go Tailwind and Water Tera. Even if Amoonguss is out on the field, you just completely ignore it and get knockouts, in front of it, which I think is really nice. You've also got Regidrago on this team. The main thing to note about this Drago set is that you have Earth Power rather than Tera Blast. A lot of people use Steel Tera Blast to deal with things like Flutter Mane, but this team honestly has a pretty good Flutter Mane matchup, because you've got Modest Flutter Mane here, you've got Focus Sash, you've got the Regieleki, which can just get a one-hit knockout with Wild Charge. I've gotten so many one-hit KOs with Wild Charge on a Flutter Mane, which is so nice. And so, yeah, because of that, you can run Earth Power instead, which is really valuable into Heatran. Heatran in general and Steel types are just kind of annoying, and being able to have a way to hit them for super effective is really crucial. The final Pokemon on this team is Farigiraf, and I love this Farigiraf. I think what's really fun is that it can obviously go for good support with Helping Hand. Like, Helping Hand with this team is awesome, because you can go with like Farigiraf and Regidrago and just Helping Hand plus Dragon Energy, for example. But this set is Hyper Voice with Throat Spray as well as Psyshock. The idea is that after you get the special attack boost, Psyshock is so good into things like Amoonguss, as well as Urshifu and Iron Hands, for example. And Psyshock is really nice, especially against all of those Assault Vest Pokemon that exist in the format. You also have Trick Room on this Farigiraf. Once again, that's mainly to kind of counter opposing Trick Rooms, but you can utilize that for your own end. And Grass Tera here is to help out against Amoonguss. But, of course, the best thing about Farigiraf is having that Armor Tail, because it blocks priority. So I've had games where I go like Tornadus Farigiraf and just Tailwind into Hyper Voice, start dealing damage. I've had games where I bring Farigiraf in the back just to potentially deter a turn 1 Fake Out or a turn 1 priority attack onto, say, Regieleki, like normal Tera, Choice Band Extreme Speed, for example. So, yeah. Ultimately, this team is all about outpacing your opponent, moving before they can, and just overwhelming them with offense. So I think you can lead Tornadus with literally any Pokemon on this team if you're looking for leads. I love leading Regieleki with Flutter Mane, for example, but I think you can also lead something like Regieleki Farigiraf if you think your opponent might threaten you with Fake Out on turn 1 just to deter that Fake Out, go for a normal Tera Explosion, and then switch into Flutter Mane. I think with this team, switching isn't necessarily the easiest, but I think Flutter Mane coming into an Explosion is one of the best combos that you can have. And overall, Regieleki can really just win you the game in literally 1 or 2 turns, so I'm hoping I can feature that throughout this video. But that's it for a quick breakdown. Now let's highlight some weaknesses. So in terms of weaknesses, I think the first thing to note is that this Regieleki likes to rely on the element of surprise, so just knowing this set alone can give you a big advantage. Regieleki is a Pokemon that I think is honestly pretty high risk, high reward, and in the games that I've lost with it, I think basically I trade really negatively with it. And what I mean by that is my opponent, for example, protects a Pokemon as I go for Explosion. Even just protecting one Pokemon is already kind of tough. Imagine like Regieleki goes for normal Tera and your opponent just protects both Pokemon. That's an absolute nightmare, because you lose a Pokemon and you lose your Tera immediately. Explosion is also an incredible attack, but there are some Pokemon that match up well into it, whether it be Ghost types or Ghost Teras, for example, as well as Steel type Pokemon that can resist it. So that's the thing about this Regieleki. It can be absolutely amazing, but if you know about this set and you just play a little bit more defensively in the early turns against Regieleki and you bait out that Explosion, that can actually give you a huge advantage. I've also had games where Focus Sash has been a problem, where it's like I expect to get a knockout onto something, it survives, and then it's able to retaliate back, and that's a pretty big issue because this team wants to just not let your opponent really get a move off, right? And so those are a couple things that have given this Regieleki trouble in particular. I think another thing to note is, like with this Regidrago, for example, you can actually get really walled by Fairy-type Pokemon, and so I've gone up against something like Fairy Tera Heatran, where suddenly I just can't use these attacks, and Earth Power just doesn't do that much damage either, so that's something to watch out for. With Tornadus, I think one thing that can be awkward with this team is when you set up Tailwind, but then your opponent is smart and doesn't knock out Tornadus because it's kind of just stuck on the field, and Bleak Windstorm doesn't really do that much damage. So then you're forced to make the decision as to, oh, do I actually just hard switch Tornadus out after I've set up Tailwind? That doesn't feel super good. So this bulk is amazing, but sometimes it can work against you as well. This Urshifu is pretty straightforward. The typical Urshifu counters are still going to be pretty good. For example, just having something like Rillaboom or things that just reserve Surging Strikes will be strong. The upside of this Urshifu, of course, is that it's a little bit bulkier than people will generally anticipate, so you can use that to your advantage. Flutter main, I think you can take advantage of the fact that it doesn't have Protect and easily knock out the slot. For example, something like an opposing Urshifu can just Surging Strikes into it and just get a knockout even through the Focus Sash. And with the Farigiraf here, I think Farigiraf is pretty strong, but Hyper Voice and Psyshock, like, unless you have the Throat Spray activated, don't necessarily do that much damage. So I've had opponents who basically play smartly and like don't really allow Farigiraf to just continue to spam Hyper Voice consistently throughout the course of the battle. So yeah, I think with this team, it's really fast paced. I think with Regieleki, like, Intimidate's really bad for it to go up against because suddenly it just screws up all your damage calcs, and so that's really good. And I think with this team in general, having good defensive Pokemon that can just survive these big attacks and retaliate back is a really big deal as well. So those are just a couple of things that I've run into. But yeah, let's get into these games. Okay, we've got Flutter, Urshifu, Rillaboom, Hisuian Arcanine, Zapdos, and Vaporeon. Vaporeon definitely sticks out there. I'd expect to see something like Sylveon. Reminds me a little bit of the team that won the Senior Division World Championships. I think Aleki with Electroweb in general is looking solid. We ideally want to clear their Flutter main first, if anything. If we can clear Flutter, then it opens the door for Regidrago. Rillaboom is annoying, but we can Explosion against that. Like, I'm thinking Aleki plus Urshifu here with Flutter and then Drago in the back. The idea behind this is if they don't lead Flutter, I could theoretically just normal Tera Explosion, switch into my Flutter on turn 1. Explosion's going to be very good into a fair amount of their Pokemon, right? Like Zapdos, Rillaboom, Urshifu. We could just start Wild Charging as well, and then Electroweb's good speed control as well. So let's see what they bring out. If they lead Flutter, I think what we can do is just Electroweb plus Surging Strikes turn 1. It's going to be Rillaboom and Flutter. Okay. I'm fine with this. I think turn 1, I don't mind just going for a double Protect. Yep. I could double Protect, and I could... I don't think Explosion's worth it. Mainly trying to see if they Tera, but I think the idea behind this is turn 1, bait their Fake out. Turn 2 will become really interesting because I pressure with Electroweb and Surging Strikes. So I think if you're my opponent, you're actually incentivized to switch the Flutter out and then just go straight for something like a Wood Hammer onto one of the 2 Pokemon. So what I'm actually thinking about doing on turn 2 switching Urshifu into Flutter, normal Tera Explosion. Because if I can catch Flutter main switching out and get a double knockout, that would be absolutely huge. Here's the double. Okay, they just opt for Gleam. They didn't go for Fake Out. Interesting. Basically, like, my obvious play is Electroweb Surging Strikes. And you just go for Wood Hammer. Onto Aleki. I don't know. I would honestly switch out Flutter if I were them. Like, I want to go for the normal Tera Explosion play and then switch out into my Flutter. I think if they switch their Flutter out and I get a double knockout, this wins me the game, quite frankly. I'd be trading 1 for 2. I would be trading my Tera, but then I have Sash Flutter. And they do switch Flutter. Okay. Into what? I would expect Zapdos over Vaporeon. Yeah. So we switch our Urshifu out into my Flutter. There's the normal Tera on the Regieleki. Does it get the double knockout is my main question. Normal Tera, Life Orb boosted. Regieleki is going to blow up now. Flutter is immune to that. Oh! my gosh. Okay. Well, that's exactly what I was looking for. Like, the whole idea was, I think if you're my opponent, you expect Electro Web plus Surging Strike, so you switch the Zapdos in, you know, it probably has Static and... or not probably, it does have Static. And so with that, then, I wouldn't be surprised if I had Rocky Helmet as well. But now if you bring out your Flutter, I can just Aqua Jet plus Shadow Ball into that slot. You don't have Fake Out Pressure anymore, no more Rillaboom. And Vaporeon's our last one, but that's not really going to do any damage to us. I'm not worried about that. Oh, it felt so good to make that No way. Folks, that is the power of Life Orb, Normal Tera, Explosion, Regieleki. Wow. Whoa, they have Regieleki Farigiraf as well. Chiyu Bundle, Torkoal, and Ursaluna. Huh. Okay, the first thing that I noticed is I think Explosion honestly can just blow things up very quickly here. But they do have like fast-paced offense with like Bundle, Aleki, Chiyu. So I think that's a trio to watch out for. As per usual, I'm normally worried about like them setting up Trick Room. And a Farigiraf lead could be really good for them there. Farigiraf lead. So I think I want to go like Aleki. I think Aleki Flutter could work here. I'm mainly looking at that Iron Bundle that concerns me. I could go with my Aleki and Tornadus, but this is so bad into a Farigiraf lead, I think. If I were them, I would prioritize setting up Trick Room into this team. So I think I'm going to go Aleki plus Flutter, Farigiraf in the back, and then Drago is the fourth. The main thing that I note here is that they don't have any resistances or immunities to Normal or Dragon. So our Explosion and Dragon Energy are both going to be really powerful here. Tornadus is interesting. It's actually really good if they go with like the fast mode of their team, like the top 3 Pokemon, but it's really useless if they go with Farigiraf. Actually, I say that one interesting thing we theoretically could do in this matchup is self Scary Face to drop our own speed to take advantage of Trick Room. But like, you know, their Torkoal and their Ursaluna are going to be so slow that even if I self Scary Face, it's still... I probably have to do it twice to outspeed a lot of their team. They're going to go with the Aleki and Farigiraf. That works for me. Honestly, here I want to just send it. Normal Tera, Explosion, and just Moonblast into Farigiraf. I think the main problem here is that Farigiraf has Protect, which is certainly good. But if it doesn't have Protect, we get a double knockout. That's going to put us in great shape, I would say. I guess the other question is, it could be interesting. Maybe you lead Farigiraf, bluffing Trick Room, but you actually have like Bundle Chiyu in the back. And then because I didn't bring Tornadus, Bundle Icy Wind just puts in so much pressure. But we're going to start off with the Tera here. Explosion is obviously very high risk, high reward, right? If my opponent just protects even one of their Pokemon, it doesn't pay off as heavily. And if they protect both Pokemon, I literally just give up a Pokemon and my Tera. But neither Pokemon protect. We get the Explosion off. They don't switch out. This is exactly what this combo likes to do. It's so satisfying if you get it off. I didn't even need Flutter. I probably could have actually conserved my Tera then and just gone Explosion, like Dazzling Gleam. But I'm always fine going for Moonblast on a Farigiraf to cover for it being like max HP, max defense. But we just get a double knockout to start the game immediately, and that's what this team loves to do. Which is really nice because it means our Focus Sash is actually intact on Flutter main as well. So now I think I'm actually happy to first bring out the... Okay, if they went with Trick Room, they would have had, what, Torkoal, Ursaluna in the back? And if they went with faster stuff, it'd be a combination of Bundle, Chiyu. If it's Torkoal or Ursaluna, I think it's fine to just bring out Farigiraf because Regidrago just wins against that anyway. And Farigiraf is a little bit bulkier here and gives me the option to like maybe set up Trick Room if they actually went with the faster mode. But yeah, it's just Torkoal. Oh, Torkoal Bundle, though. That's interesting. Okay. Not what I would have expected, that's for sure. But I'm honestly fine with this. Like, I would assume booster energy here on bundle. Special attack boost. Yep, there's the booster. Fine by me. Huh? Special attack booster bundle. I've never seen that before. Whoa. Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm happy to just Hyper Voice here. And Shadow Ball into Torkoal. Well, since I guess I have Focus Sash intact here, yeah, I'm fine to just go for... I mean, Hyper Voice Gleam should just knock out Bundle here. I guess it could be Ultra Bulky Bundle, so I maybe can play it safer and just go for, like, Moonblast instead, but with the special attack boost from Photosynthesis, I think it's fine. They're going to commit the Tera here. I think you have to Tera Bundle, honestly. If you Tera Torkoal... Okay, they'd end up Terraing Torkoal, which is fine by me. I think then your play here is probably to protect Bundle and then try to just get, like, a Heat Wave off, right? They actually go for Hydro Pump, but miss. But I think with Bundle had to protect there. With Bundle not protecting, I think we just had the game locked up here. Yeah. And Torkoal also took so much damage. I'm assuming it's a Heat Wave here. But the idea is, like, after going for that Hyper Voice, we get the Throat Spray activation as well. And I still have a Regidrago in the back, right? And unfortunately, they're going to miss Heat Wave as well, so... Everything going our way there, but since our Flutter main had the Focus Sash intact, like, even if both moves had hit there, you would knock out Flutter, and then I just knock out Torkoal the next turn anyway, right? So, yeah, the misses don't really make a difference here. It's mainly them needing to have protected the Bundle there. Part of me was thinking of reading into Bundle protecting and doubling up onto Torkoal, but yeah. Special Attack Booster Bundle, definitely interesting. Bundle can miss a lot of its attacks in Icy Wind and Hydro Pump, so it can be a little bit stressful. And the idea behind Speed Booster is that you just outpace everything in Icy Wind. But yeah, I think in this game I was actually expecting just Torkoal and Ursaluna in the back. I thought they'd lead fully into the Trick Room mode, so I wasn't expecting to see Bundle. But because we just got that double knockout immediately on turn 1 and I had Focus Sash intact on Flutter, I felt pretty good about our chances there. And yeah, basically it's like even if Hydro Pump had hit there because they didn't protect, the Dazzling Gleam and Hyper Voice KOs, if Heat Wave... I guess, no, even if Heat Wave got the double knockout there, then Drago just comes out and clicks Dragon Energy for the win, right? So my opponent's way to win that would have been protecting Bundle. I go for the Hyper Voice plus the Dazzling Gleam. Torkoal's at 30%. Heat Wave brings both of my Pokemon down to basically, you know, about 1%. And then what's actually interesting is if your Bundle does have Icy Wind, which I'd expect it to, then you can just click Icy Wind the next turn and then just get a double knockout. So then my opponent actually probably could have won if they went Protect into Icy Wind with the Iron Bundle specifically. So maybe I needed to show that combination actually a little bit more respect, but yeah. Okay, we've got the World Champion team from this year. Landorus, Urshifu, Flutter, Chien-Pao, Amoonguss, Iron Hands. This could be a game for Safety Goggles, Urshifu. With Rain Dance Torn. Honestly, Farigiraf's interesting to me here as well. All of our Pokemon are somewhat good. I think Gieleki I want to lean away from in this one, mainly because they have Landorus and Flutter. So it's like Explosion is less valuable. Iron Hands can already take a Life Orb, Normal Tera, Explosion. So I think we probably drop that. Torn Farigiraf's honestly very interesting. I think I want 4 of these 5. Because I'm dropping Regieleki. I'm just not sure who to actually drop. But I think because we have Goggles on Urshifu, it's very compelling. Like, I'm thinking Tornadus plus Urshifu lead. It's just Farigiraf with Hyper Voice is actually pretty decent here. You know what? I'm actually down for Tornadus Farigiraf lead. Urshifu Drago in the back. Part of the appeal of Farigiraf here is being able to Hyper Voice, get the Throat Spray activation, and then just Psyshock into Amoonguss, Urshifu, and Iron Hands. I think that's really powerful here. Also, by leading this, it means that you just can't fake out onto Torn, meaning I get a guaranteed Tailwind off on turn 1. So, something like a Tailwind plus Hyper Voice is already a pretty good start for us, I would argue. I think the main thing to think about is, do I actually get enough turns of Tailwind? Because Drago's really good here if it's under Tailwind, but a lot of their Pokemon will outspeed me once Tailwind's over, including Chien-Pao, including Fluttermane, for example. It's going to be Chien-Pao and Hands, which I'm actually quite happy to see, I would say. Because I think this is a very free, immediate Tailwind into Hyper Voice. Tailwind Hyper Voice, then pivot in Regidrago. I think the main thing is if I'm my opponent, I'm definitely bringing Flutter Man in the back. And we don't have Steel Tera Blast. If I had Steel Tera Blast, I'd like would honestly read into like Chien-Pao Protect, hand switches out into Flutter, and then just like Tera Blast into that slot. Okay, so we're just gonna get Tailwind up immediately. Hyper Voice, so much damage on a Chien-Pao, wow. And more importantly, activates that Throat Spray for us. Okay, the Icicle Crash. It might be a double up onto the Farigiraf slot. Yeah, I think that's a good play by them. I think if Farigiraf survived that turn and continues to get to attack, my opponent's in really bad shape. So that was quite nicely done by them. But this now grants me the free switch in, as I mentioned, into Regidrago. So the main thing with this is I would expect Iron Hands to now pivot out into Flutter Mane. And for Chien-Pao to protect this turn. So I don't mind going out into Urshifu. And then Dragon Energy here. I guess I could just protect with the Chien-Pao and then honestly just attack with Iron Hands here into the Drago slot. I think that's also acceptable. Huh, against Hands Chien-Pao lead. Life Orb Regieleki actually would have crushed it. I could have gone like Aleki Flutter, double protect into just Explosion, Dazzling Gleam turn 2. But I didn't feel that good about Aleki in this matchup because of, like I mentioned, the Landorus. Iron Hands is also pretty scary, but it's just funny because we would have actually been able to take advantage of the defense drop from Chien-Pao. Ah, they actually just go for Soccer Punch. Oh, that was really smart. I really like that play. I think my opponents played this game really well so far. Yeah, I was expecting Protect switch into Flutter. Drain Punch, which we do survive. Okay. But Iron Hands has honestly been a huge nuisance because of how much sustain that it's offered my opponent. Yeah, I think I just honestly got outled here. And my opponents played perfectly both turns in my opinion. So kudos to them. This is where things get interesting though. If they bring out Amoonguss, we are safety goggles with this, but you should defensively Tera this in my opinion. Like I want to Tera, Water Tera, Surging Strikes, and Dragon Pulse. Having the safety goggles on the Urshifu is actually a really, really big deal because it means that Amoonguss is going to struggle in the long run against our Urshifu. I think if they don't click Rage Powder here or they don't Tera with Iron Hands, we could win the game off this. Part of the question is what their final Pokemon is, but basically in my head, one thing we could do is protect Urshifu, sack the Drago, bring out Torn, and then Tailwind again. But they are going to go for a Tera here, yeah. Nicely done. Yep. It should be Water Tera. I wonder if Close Combat Dragon Pulse would have gotten the KO. Maybe it was worthwhile to go for that instead. Yeah, they didn't Rage Powder, so that may have worked. I guess it's interesting, though. Like, let's say you Wild Charge. Like, if they went for Wild Charge Pollen Puff here, I do think Close Combat and Dragon Pulse actually would have gotten the KO. But the problem is if it doesn't, then Wild Charge guarantees the KO out into Urshifu, and that's really bad for us. Oh, so close. Do we survive this? Nice. Okay, that's huge, because you should Feign from Recoil. Yep. So now what does Amoonguss do? Because, like, Tornadus will win against the Amoonguss in the endgame as well. Pollen Puff onto the hands. Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. What's their last one, though? It's Flutter Mane. Yeah, okay. This is going to be really close, but I actually think we can... Yeah, because as a last turn of Tailwind, we have Safety Goggles, so now what we do is Detect here. Oh, wait, I don't even need to Detect. It's the last turn of Tailwind. Yeah, just Surging Strikes. Into you. You can Rage Powder, but I have Safety Goggles. And Earth Power. And then Tornadus wins 1v1 against Amoonguss. Yep. This is why you use Safety Goggles Water Urshifu. And this should just get the knockout with Water Tera. So good. This is why you use the bulkier Urshifu spread, right? This Urshifu is not just max attack, max speed, and with that amount of bulk, we can take that wild charge from the Iron Hand. So that was a huge deal. And the safety goggles just made this matchup a lot easier for us, right? Because it kind of makes Amoonguss' life 10 times more difficult. So Tailwind Peter's out now, but we've still got Tornadus waiting in the back as well. And this is a Citrus Berry set, so I don't have to worry about Rocky Helmet. I'm happy to just Surging Strikes here and Dragon Pulse, but yeah, I mean, there's not much an Amoonguss can do in this position. I thought my opponent played fantastically turn 1 and turn 2, though, because I think, like, Farigiraf's amazing in this matchup, and I do think sometimes players are just baited into knocking out Tornadus, but on turn 1, if my opponent had knocked out Tornadus, Farigiraf gets that Throat Spray boost, then I get a free switch into Regidrago. I think I'm really, really well positioned. So what was key in this game was having that safety goggles on the Urshifu, because it meant that Amoonguss could not safely protect my opponent. If we don't have goggles on the Urshifu, they're actually very likely just lose the game, because there's no way that, like, low HP Urshifu, low HP on the Regidrago and Tornadus can beat Dazzling Gleam from Choice Specs Flutter main, right? So my opponent had basically played perfectly to a Flutter main endgame, but unfortunately for them, I did have the safety goggles, and that's one of the reasons why it's a very strong item choice on Urshifu, especially in closed team sheet best of 1. Okay, we've got Torn, Flutter, Hands, Heatran, Gyarados, and Urshifu here. I think this is where using our own Trick Room can be really interesting. So basically, like, I think our opponents will think about setting up their own Tailwind with Tornadus. Honestly, we could go with Aleki Flutter main. Farigiraf Drago. What's the logic with this? It's basically to say if you lead with Torn plus something, you'll probably be incentivized to Tailwind. If you Tailwind, I can protect Trick Room and then Explosion the next turn. Drago has Earth Power here, so we actually have a decent matchup into Heatran. I think the other approach is honestly just going with our own Tornadus as well and saying, hey, like, I have Regieleki, which is really good into Tornadus, but I don't even think we necessarily need to click Trick Room. I just think it's an option for us here. Depends on what our opponent goes with. Because if they don't bring their Torn, I think we'll just be faster generally anyway. Also, the window in front of me, it's just like, has a little bit of this bar of light coming through, and I'm like trying to avoid it. Like, it's just Regieleki shining its beam on me. Anyway, let's see what our opponent brings. My main goal here is to, with this team as always, outpace our opponent. In this game, I'm opting not to go for the Tailwind route. I think mainly because Tornadus doesn't match up that well against a lot of my opponent's Pokemon. They're going to go with Iron Hands and Flutter main. Okay. I don't hate a double Protect turn 1 just to Scout. Just kidding, we don't have Protect. I'm so used to having Protect on Flutter main. The thing, though, is it's pretty rare for Iron Hands to click Fake Out in this position because of Farigiraf. But, like, I think I'm down to just go straight for Wild Charge here onto Flutter and then hard switch into my Farigiraf. Because if they do, let's say they do end up clicking Fake Out here because they don't respect Farigiraf, and I knock out Flutter on turn 1, that puts me in such a dominant position because then turn 2 I could just go for normal Tera Explosion, switch back out into Flutter main. And it puts me in such a strong position. So that's why Farigiraf's really important on this team. I think being able to block priority to protect Regieleki on turn 1 is really essential. But the other question I have is the Flutter main set, right? Are you bulky enough to actually live a Life Orb attack from us here? So they're going to Tera. Is it a Flutter? Okay. Oh my gosh. Show me Fake Out on turn 1, Regieleki. Show me Fake Out and no Focus Sash on Flutter and we just one-shot them. That would be the dream right now. Okay, no Fake Out, but we get Life Orb Wild Charge. This Regieleki is crazy. I love this Pokemon so much. If you haven't seen a Regieleki showcase in this generation, well, here you go. Okay, they Dream Punch into Aleki. So nicely done. They don't target the Flutter slot at least. Which means I won't be able to get the Explosion off, which is kind of sad. So we trade, but I get their Tera out on turn 1, which I think is so worth it for us because it puts Drago in a great spot. I could just bring in Drago out right now, right? What are they going to have? Gyarados, Heatran, Torn. It is a pretty strong closer. But I don't mind bringing it out now because I can just pressure and knock out onto Iron Hands with double up onto that slot. Torn comes out. Okay. This is interesting. Like, do we think they're going to actually set up Tailwind right now? Because if so, Protect Trick Room is actually our best option. Are they really going to click Tailwind in front of us is the question. I don't hate Protect and Trick Room here. I feel like if I can get this turn right, though, I kind of just win. I'm just worried about Trick Rooming and then, like, letting Iron Hands actually sweep me. I went Dragon Pulse Trick Room. Torn protects. Okay. That was a bad Dragon Pulse. Yeah, that was a really poor turn for me, honestly. They're going to Dream Punch Drago. But we take less than half, so it's honestly not too bad. But if I just went, like, Dragon Energy plus Psyshock onto hands, that would have been an amazing shape. Just trying to bait them to Tailwind there, but they didn't fall for it, so that was nicely done by them. Still okay, though, because, like, another attack won't KO Regidrago, so I think here... Do we ever think this switches out into, say, Gyarados? Because I think I want to just Dragon Pulse into Iron Hands and Psyshock it right now. Trick Room is still valuable because, like, they do have potentially fast Pokemon in the back, right? Like, it might, if it's Urshifu in the back, for example, we knock out Iron Hands, we're in good shape. I think I should have just clicked Dragon Energy last turn. I didn't need to go for Dragon Pulse because Tornadus isn't really an important target right now anyway. They actually just opt to Heavy Slam, which does not do very much damage at all. Okay, so we get Dragon Pulse off. Here's Psyshock, so it ignores a potential Assault Vest. Nice. And that's why Farigiraf with Psyshock is awesome. Does get a crit, though. I actually wonder if we would have knocked out without the crit. I would have thought so, given how much Dragon Pulse just did. There's Bleak Wind. Okay. I still have Tera, but Flutter main is my last Pokemon. I'm hoping to see Urshifu here. I think if it's Urshifu, it's game over. And it is. Nice. It's Dark Urshifu. Okay. Dragon Energy here is safe then. Actually, they could still win this. Right? I think we go for Dragon Pulse instead of Dragon Energy. And just Hyper Voice. Yeah. Okay, good Protect by Urshifu, but that's fine. I went for that because a lot of Urshifus are choice banded, so if you are banded, when we just get the KO, we win the game there immediately. Because I don't even know if Bleak Wind KOs either Pokemon right now. And this gives me the special attack boost on Farigiraf, which is pretty awesome as well. Yeah, I think the one main turn I messed up in this game was the Trick Room turn. Bleak Wind does double connect. Crits the Regidrago. Okay. That's a little bit less than ideal. Ah, that might actually cost me the game. I Fairy Tera here, so I take less from Wicked Blow. Dazzling Gleam. Do we think Psyshock gets the knockout onto Tornadus with that boost? 2 turns of Trick Room. Yeah, I think I'm okay going for Gleam Psyshock. Like, having Farigiraf to block Sucker Punch is a really big deal, so... the idea behind this is there's no point in going for a Tera on Farigiraf. Tera on Flutter is valuable to just do more damage and also resist Wicked Blow. I have Focus Sash intact here as well. And if Psyshock just one-shots Tornadus, then you can't even KO me with Sash, right? Okay, so here we go. Here's Psyshock. Torn does hang on, so this might actually come down to whether or not they hit a Bleak Wind. Actually, I think we survive Bleak Wind here, even if they hit. And it's Life Orb Urshifu, okay. Bleak Wind does double connect. Flutter survives. Nice, and because you're Life Orb now, I get the double KO. Perfect. Like, I figured we'd be fine here, but I think this game ended up being closer than it needed to be, given the one turn when I set up Trick Room. Like, I was just thinking they're not going to think I'm going to want to click Trick Room right now because they have, I have Flutter Mane in the back, but that turn specifically, like, I wasn't sure if their Tornadus had Protect because most Tornaduses are also dropping Protect, so I was like, okay, guaranteed damage into that slot. Even if Trick Room gets set up, we're still pretty well positioned, but yeah, that ended up being a lot closer than I would have liked given the huge advantage that I had on turn 1, but still ended up with the win here. But yeah, I think the main turn to point 2, what basically I was worried about was, like, not Trick Rooming, but I think... Yeah, so here's what I was worried about. I was worried about not Trick Rooming, getting a knockout that turn, and then getting completely swept by Tornadus and Urshifu under Tailwind, because, like, Urshifu could just Wicked Blow everything, and I think that was pretty concerning. Alright, that win gets us to Master Ball tier, and honestly, I think if you're looking for a team to climb the ladder with right now, this is easily one of the best teams I'd recommend because of how fast-paced it is and how quickly it can win games. You can see that the Regieleki, like, everything can just blow the game wide open so quickly, which is amazing. So, what do we got here? Amoonguss, Gyarados, Urshifu, Flutter, Chew, Tornadus. If I were my opponent, I would not bring Gyarados in this matchup. I would prioritize Amoonguss, which makes Urshifu very tempting here because of safety goggles. I think I want to go like our own Tornadus. Torn Regieleki here seems pretty decent. Drago's good, but it has to worry about Flutter as always. Torn, Aleki, Urshifu. I'm a little bit worried about my Amoonguss matchup right now, so I think it has to be one of Farigiraf or Regidrago. I don't know what Urshifu type that is, which is kind of concerning, so I'm down for Drago. I mean, the thing about Drago is, like, if we clear Flutter Mane early, it just opens the game wide open for this Pokemon. So, yeah. I think in this matchup, I don't want to lean into Trick Room as much because they have Amoonguss. So it's like, I could bait them to set up Tailwind and go for Trick Room, but if that were the case, then Amoonguss could just Spore everything, which would cause some pretty big problems for me. And they're just going to go with Torn and Flutter, which I'm very okay with. I think I'm happy... Oh, is it Speed Booster here? That actually changes a lot. No, it's Special Attack. Okay. Yeah, given that, then I'm down to just... Oh, I don't even need a Tailwind turn. I could Scary Face, huh? The reason to Scary Face is to stagger my Tailwind. But I guess they could just taunt me afterwards. I don't know if it's really that smart to stagger Tailwind in this game. Like, I kind of want to just Tailwind Wild Charge here. Oh, it could be Gyarados coming in for Intimidate. Okay. Fairy Tera? Oh, Regieleki. Regieleki is about to cook, maybe. We've seen this KO previously. We know you're not Focus Sash. Like, they're just going for Dazzling Gleam and trying to get a double knockout, right? That was a crit. I didn't want to see the crit. I don't think we need it. I mean, it depends on how bulky the Flutter is, right? Actually, I want to do that damage code because I don't know it off the top of my head right now. Regieleki against Flutter Mane. Let's say, like, they're max HP, max defense, which should never be the case, but even if they are that, right? Like, what are their odds of surviving? Because this is 167. We're adamant max attack. So into a Flutter Mane with our Wild Charge, Life Orb. If you're curious how much it does. Yeah, like, okay, let's say you're a max HP Flutter. It's a guaranteed, like, knockout. And even if you have, like, 160 defense EVs, it's still over a 50% chance to KO. So it KOs most Flutter Manes, right? Anyway, they might Sucker Punch us now. I successfully set up Tailwind. We've got Urshifu in the back. I don't mind going for Bleak Wind here. And I clicked Explosion. Which might not be the smartest idea because Chiyu could protect here as well. But I actually don't mind it because of the idea of granting me a free switch in, right? And if, like, the Urshifu is choice there and we get the knockout, that's just amazing. But we just knock out Chiyu. And, like, this is one of the scenarios where self-explosioning is honestly fine because our Tornadus isn't faint. And it knocks out Chiyu, and now it grants me a free switch in. The main thing to note is that I can't Scary Face their Urshifu, but they already committed their Tera. This team is so fun. What I wanted to get at, though, is, like, with Flutter main, you would need... Even if you're max HP, for example, and, like, 104 defense EVs, Life Orb Wild Charge is still a KO. So you would need a ton of investment. Let's see. I think we just bring out Urshifu now. I think bring out Urshifu, Water, Tera, and just Surging Strikes, Rain Dance works. Because I already set up Tailwind, right? 2 turns of Tailwind, no Tailwind. So, like, you could Tailwind yourself, but if I just Tera this with Rain Dance and Surging Strikes, this is just cooked. It's amazing how strong this Regieleki feels. I'm so impressed by it. We haven't really clicked Electro Web with it, so we haven't gone for speed control, but the damage output from this thing is just ridiculous. Okay. Now we Rain Dance. Oh, they actually tried to Sucker Punch. Interesting. Okay. I guess if you Sucker Punched Urshifu when Bleak Winded, maybe there was a small chance there. If you, like, crit. But now we just KO Urshifu. Yeah. This Regieleki just gets so many surprise knockouts. Like, no one expects this Life Orb Wild Charge or Life Orb Explosion. Being able to outspeed and one-shot Flutter main is such a good feeling. There's Bleak Wind. Yeah, it doesn't even do half to Urshifu because of our bulk. Beautiful. Speed drop. Doesn't really matter. We've got Drago in the back. And just Scary Face here. And Surging Strikes. It is crazy how quickly this team can win you games. I think, yeah. The main thing, of course, in this matchup is, like, so let's say Flutter main's max HP, max defense, and bold, which should obviously really never be the case. Then Wild Charge is not a guaranteed KO. But it was a special attack booster energy set. And I'm actually curious, if you go on Peakalytics right now, like, what is the Flutter main benchmark EV spread? It's 212 attack, or 212 HP, 132 defense. And against that spread, Wild Charge is a 94% chance to OHKO. So if they are running that Flutter main spread, then they actually have a chance of surviving, but very, very slim, obviously. Oh, and that's a timid booster energy set, not modest booster energy. But yeah, I'm looking at all the different EV spreads that people are using for Flutter main. There's also 252, 164. So with that spread, it's actually a 50% chance to get the one-hit knockout. So yeah, I wish we could have seen whether or not it would have gotten the knockout without that. This light is really just all over me. I wish we could have seen whether or not it would have gotten the KO without the crit. But I don't know. On those teams, like, I would not expect Flutter main to have that much HP and defense EV. So you do get the knockout onto most Flutter mains. But it's good to know that, you know, Flutter can theoretically EV to survive it. I just wouldn't expect most Flutters in this format to actually survive that. All right, games with this team go by really quickly, and we've had a nice win streak so far, so let's just keep it going and see what we got. I'm just happy to feature how good this team is. I have lost against a Cresselia Ursaluna team, and basically, yeah, when I was practicing with this team, the way that game ended up working out was that they had a really good turn where they used Ally Switch with Cresselia, and it was Rocky Helmet, so like my Urshifu Surging Strikes did really low damage, and then a late game Flutter main just swept me. So I need to be careful about something like that. Iron Hands Lead generally is pretty popular here. You know, like Hands Flutter is something to worry about. Hands Cresselia as well. So let's prepare for those two leads first. I like Aleki. Farigiraf. Torn normally doesn't come out in this, at least not in a best of one. Flutter does have Sash. Drago is pretty good, especially with Steel Tera. I'm inclined to bring Urshifu because of safety goggles. I think otherwise I'm just Spore Bait for Amoonguss, and that's really bad. But my general plan here is use Farigiraf in the early game. If we can get an early Hyper Voice off, like Psyshock is so good into Amoonguss and Iron Hands. I think if we see Urshifu, or sorry, we see Amoonguss come out immediately, though, I'll probably consider just switching into my Urshifu. And we'll go from there. Crest Flutter, okay. With this, I don't mind clicking Wild Charge, but basically the debate on Farigiraf is, do we think they actually click Trick Room right now? Because a lot of times people will see Farigiraf and expect Imprison and Trick Room. So I'm actually just going to click Hyper Voice on turn 1. What I really don't want to do is like click Trick Room and just set it up for my opponent. And I'm hoping that my opponent shows enough respect to Farigiraf, and they're like, okay, you have Farigiraf out, you probably have Imprisoned Trick Room, I'm going to show that respect. Yep, they don't click Trick Room. But this might be Sash Flutter. This Pokemon is crazy. Oh. Low-key, this next turn, if they bring out Iron Hands, I could just go for Life Orb, normal Tera, Helping Hand, Explosion, and just knock all 3 Pokemon out on the field. That's Ursaluna, though. I mean, Ursaluna has to protect here, right? I think my main question is whether or not Wild Charge plus Hyper Voice gets the KO right now onto Cresselia. Cresselia almost never carries Protect, which is why I'm thinking about just actually going for Explosion and losing both Pokemon. Because then I have a Drago Urshifu endgame. I think it's worth it. And if for some reason they don't click Protect with Ursaluna, it's game over immediately. I don't know if like this might be overkill, but basically what I was worried about is that it's actually Citrus Cresselia. So then I Wild Charge, it activates Citrus, Hyper Voice also goes off, and then they set up Trick Room. I guess alternatively, I could have actually clicked like Wild Charge and try to reverse their Trick Room, but I'd rather just take the guaranteed knockout on Cresselia, right? So like, I'm probably losing both Pokemon here to knock out Cresselia, but I think to... Well, Ursaluna survived that. I wouldn't have expected that. Okay. I thought that was a guaranteed KO for sure with Life Orb and normal Tera. And Helping Hand. Anyway, that's fine because my Urshifu can just Aqua Jet that now. I wonder if they have Bulk Up or Sword Stance here then. Yep. This is why I brought the Urshifu though, because like I assume they have a Amoonguss here. Man, I thought that was Focus Sash. With Flame Orb, you also just faint after a turn. But the thing is, by clearing the Flutter main, Drago just sweeps. Yeah, I don't even know what you could have in the back that would give you a shot here. That's Iron Hands. Okay. Yep. We just Surging Strikes here and Dragon Energy. I just don't want the Ursaluna to actually get an attack off, right? The one way we could actually throw this game is if I let Ursaluna attack this turn, and I ended up targeting Iron Hands instead. Hands is actually... Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the only Pokemon that keeps my opponent even in this game, I'd say. Because it's actually pretty bulky, but... And that's why not getting the knockout on Ursaluna actually... You know what? I could have just double protected there, probably. Because they faint from Burn. Yeah, that was just definitely the more optimal play. And they're Grass Tera, okay. But the reason I'm okay with this is because I know that... Oh, okay. They go for Fake Out onto Urshifu. Cool. And we just Dragon Energy. I think double protect was fine there. Because the Ursaluna just faints from Burn and it shouldn't have a way to heal up, right? And then it's just a 1v1. But Grass Tera and then targeting Urshifu there was interesting, I thought. Now we can just close combat and Dragon Energy again. Yeah, the reality in this matchup is that, like, Regidrago is so good once Flutter main goes down, which is why, like, being able to knock out Flutter early is so helpful. We had a crit there, but Dragon Energy definitely would have gotten just the knockout anyway. I just mainly wasn't expecting to actually get that explosion off against Ursaluna, but it made a lot of sense that turn. I think my opponent was probably feeling actually pretty safe, like, hey, I'm going to get Trick Room up, and I'm going to get the Sword Stance up, I'm going to sweep you, but with that Helping Hand Life Orb Explosion, we just knock out the Cresselia outright, and that's what I was really prioritizing. Like, Trick Room going up against this team is really bad, which is why you have a lot of answers for it, including being able to reverse it with both Trick Room and Flutter main. But, man, this team is so fun. Okay, Flutter, Urshifu, Rilla, Heatran, Hands, Azumarill. A lot of Wild Charge Pokemon, or a lot of Pokemon I can Wild Charge. I'm thinking Regieleki, Farigiraf, maybe? I think being able to Side Shock things is fairly valuable here. Torn's not bad, I think, especially because of its matchup in a Rillaboom. Could be Torn Drago. Feels weird to not bring Urshifu in this one. But I guess if you're my opponent, you could prioritize Rillaboom, Grass Tera, Heatran, and Azumarill, and then Urshifu is pretty walled. But then why am I bringing Torn to set up Tailwind, I guess, for Drago? This is kind of a weird 4, actually. But I'm down for it. I think if I were to lose this game because of poor Pokemon choice, it'd be because I didn't bring Urshifu. My general game plan here is to really ideally use Eleki early. Like, if Eleki can get that early knockout out of Flutter, like we've done so much, then I can just set up Tailwind with Tornadus and go from there. Yeah, I mean, hey, this is the ideal lead once again into Flutter. So I'm just going to go straight for Wild Charge here and Hyper Voice to get that special attack boost. Now, the main thing that stops this is Focus Sash Flutter main. Focus Sash Flutter main is actually a huge problem for us to run into, especially because I didn't bring Urshifu. Like, if I brought Urshifu, then even if you're Sash Flutter, it's fine, because I Wild Charge you, bring you down the Sash, I bring out Urshifu, and then just Aqua Jet plus Psy Shock, and then take over the game from there. Okay, Flutter has Protect here. So that's already a strong start for my opponent. Get my Hyper Voice, and more importantly, get the special attack boost. I can just Psy Shock Wild Charge the next turn. That is a really bulky Iron Hands. Whoa. Drain Punch. That's fine. Okay. I guess my problem is now they know I have Wild Charge, so like I wouldn't be shocked if Flutter main just switches out here. Call me crazy. I want to do this so badly. It is not the optimal play. That's for sure, but I do really want to do it. Like, I think they probably switch in Rillaboom here, but I'm just going to play it safe this turn. Wild Charge, Psy Shock. Oh, they stay in. Is it Sashed? Yeah. It was bound to... I mean, it was about time we ran into a Sash Flutter. Yep, that's going to be a huge problem for us. Being able to tank a Regieleki Wild Charge or Explosion is what gives you a huge edge against this team. Ah. That Drain Punch actually allowed them to survive as well. Okay. So, great Drain Punch on turn 1. Alright. I get to... Oh! Yeah, I didn't even catch that Iron Hands move before Flutter. The thing is, I'm not sure that Trick Room actually helps my opponent. This should be really interesting now, huh? Never mind. I get cleaned up by Azumarill under Trick Room. Yeah, Regieleki was my answer into Azumarill. I actually didn't realize how much of a threat Azumarill was to this team now, like, until I realized it. The only way of really beating it is actually really Regieleki and maybe Flutter main. A little bit of Farigiraf. This is in terrible shape now. I could Grass Tera this, survive. Okay, basically I'm playing in desperation mode right now. I know I'm so far behind in the game that I'm hoping my opponent goes for like a water type attack onto this. So I'm going to Tera, reverse Trick Room. I know that it's going to be incredibly difficult to beat a Zoomer under Trick Room now, so it is time to just play super aggressively, saying I think the game is honestly lost already, and I'm just going to do whatever I can to, like, potentially win if my opponent makes a very specific play. Trick Room Protect Flutter with Sash. Very nice. Okay, can we survive? That's what I was going for. That's exactly what I was going for this turn, but we're still really playing from behind, in my opinion, because, like, my opponent hasn't Terra'd yet. But I got what I needed this turn, at least. Their last one is Urshifu. And it's Dark Urshifu. I don't really see a way to win. You just play rough into this now, Wicked Blow into this, right? If they miss play rough, maybe there's a small chance. I went for Dragon Pulse Hyper Voice. Yeah, they're gonna... I mean, you could just Dark Tera now with Urshifu. Azumarill's really good into our team. I just, like, did not really realize that until I lost my... Oh, and it's Fairy Tera. Yeah, that's gonna be GG for sure. That is the worst Tera for Regidrago to run into. Nicely done. I thought my opponent played this basically perfectly. Yeah, like... Couple things that really make this matchup harder for me. Focus Sash and Trick Room on Flutter and Protect. Azumarill in itself as well as the Urshifu. And I was actually playing towards the play rough miss. The honest truth is, though, that the Regidrago is just 100% useless for us right now. It just doesn't do anything. So if I were to replay this matchup, I would just drop Regidrago every time and bring Urshifu instead. Maybe even Flutter. But, like, I literally, neither of these attacks do anything. So I can Earth Power, but that's basically it. Okay, if there was any chance of us winning, where would it start? I guess I don't even need to Tailwind. I can just Earth Power, hope for a special defense drop. Bleak Wind. Alright, we're gonna miss. It was looking pretty doomed to begin with anyway, though, honestly, but worth a shot. Wicked Blow. We survive. Citrus Heals. And I'm only in this because they even missed play rough earlier, right? But I think this game was honestly lost as soon as Trick Room was set up. If this weren't Fairy Tera Urshifu, though, then my game plan actually would have worked. Oh, and they have Ice Spinner as well. Okay, that'll probably KO? Yeah. Basically, what I was playing towards there is I get a speed drop onto the Urshifu and a special defense drop onto a Azumarill. So then, like, Bleak Wind, Earth Power, and then another Earth Power KOs. But yeah, I just can't hit either of these. And Fairy types are Regidrago's worst nightmare. So the fact my opponent had Fairy Tera on Urshifu as well was just kind of the nail in the coffin. I think without it, we actually maybe had a slight shot at winning this one. With Fairy Tera, it was just 100% over for Regidrago. But this game showed how you can counter this team, right? We had obviously like gotten up or stacked a lot of wins together in a row. But in this matchup, I ran into Focus Sash, Trick Room, Flutter main with Protect. That in itself, like... If you're able to trade positively against this Regieleki, you often will actually have a pretty big advantage. in a lot of the wins that I had today was like Regieleki just basically blows the game wide open off one really strong turn one, and that just gives me a huge advantage. So that was not the case in this one, and as a result we lose, but I thought my opponent basically played perfectly, and they had a lot of things that give this team trouble, so glad to highlight some of the weaknesses and show that this team doesn't just always win, obviously, but it is a very, very, very good team, especially for, I'd say, before Master Ball tier as well. So yeah. That's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much as always for joining me. Leave a like if you enjoy, and I'll see you all soon. All right. Peace.